The night wind in the Nevada desert whipped fine, glass-like grains of sand against the giant creature's thick, green skin. The moon hung low, distorted behind the swirling black smoke rising from the wrecks of 3 heavy drones. They lay sprawled like giant beetles, their titanium shells wrinkled, dripping molten metal onto the sand. Hulk didn't look at them. He sat leaning against a gray granite cliff, his breath hot and pungent, dissipating into the cold air. The muscles in his arms twitched, not from anger, but from an unnamed pain. He just wanted peace. He just wanted to disappear from this world that constantly hunted, imprisoned, and exploited him. But the world wouldn't allow it. A screeching sound, sharp as a scalpel, cut through his eardrums. The night sky was suddenly torn apart by a streak of bright red light, hurtling down at 10 times the speed of sound. It didn't descend like a meteor, but like a steel bird of prey controlled by an iron will. The ground shook as it landed 50 meters from Hulk, sand blown into a deep, hollow circle, melting into glittering glass in the moonlight. Iron Man stood there, in armor Hulk had never seen before. It wasn't the usual bright red and gold armor. This was a pitch-black war machine, only the bright red lines like blood vessels running along the joints. The Godkiller Mk3 armor. It wasn't designed for protection, but for assassination. Hulk slowly rose, his enormous shadow stretching across the sand. He stared at the T-shaped gap in his iron mask, from which a cold white light emanated. The silence stretched on, interrupted only by the rhythmic whirring of the armor's servo gears, like the heartbeat of a demon. The mask slid off, folding back mechanically. Tony Stark's face appeared. But it wasn't the face of an arrogant billionaire with a half smile and a mischievous glint in his eyes. This was the face of a martyr, gaunt, with sunken eyes burning with a frenzied belief. Sweat beaded on his forehead, not from fear, but from the intense concentration of a surgeon about to remove a malignant tumor. Hulk. Tony's voice didn't tremble, but there was a tension, like a taut string about to snap. This is your last chance. Accept exile to the underworld or stay here. There's no third option. Hulk smirked, revealing clenched teeth. Iron Stark. Always has a choice. Always deceives. His voice was low and rumbling like thunder in the distant horizon. Why? Why? Tony chuckled, a bitter laugh. In an instant, his eyes seemed to pierce through Hulk, through the desert, back 3 months. The gamma reactor explosion in his secret lab. The thing he created to try and recreate and control the Hulk's energy. A mistake, a decimal point off. And 307 lives, including a nearby kindergarten, were reduced to mere shadows on the wall. Hulk's fault? No, his own. But Hulk's very existence was the cause. Hulk was living proof of uncontrollable power, and Tony Stark, with an ego that wouldn't tolerate error, transformed his guilt into a crusade. Because you're a ticking time bomb, you idiot, Tony whispered. And today, I'm going to defuse it. A blue holographic screen popped up from his armored wrist, projecting into the air between them an image of a vibrating space portal. The entrance to eternal prison. Hulk shook his head, a slow but decisive gesture. The world punishes Hulk. Hulk punishes Dark Stark. Before the word Hulk could be uttered, Tony struck. Without warning, without a blink, 4 launchers on the shoulders of his suit flipped open, firing 2-meter-long spears, their tips made of a crude vibranium adamantium alloy, a metal capable of slicing through the skin of a god. They pierced Hulk's limbs with a horrifying screech, impaling him and pinning him to the cliff. Blue blood spurted, foaming on the ground, mixing with the sand to form a phosphorescent, viscous mud under the moonlight. Hulk roared in pain and rage. The roar wasn't a sign of weakness, but the prelude to an unstoppable fury. Does it hurt? Tony asked, his voice icy, low-energy lasers firing from his palms, relentlessly carving deep gashes into Hulk's chest muscles where his massive heart beat. Pain is good. Pain proves you're getting weaker. But Tony was wrong. Pain was the catalyst. Pain was the key that unlocked the cage holding the real monster. Hulk lowered his head, looking at the spears embedded in his body. Then he inhaled, a breath so deep that the surrounding air seemed to be sucked away, creating a temporary vacuum. His muscles swelled, veins bulging like rivers of lava beneath his green skin. He didn't pull the spears out. He used his chest, abdominal, and limb muscles to bend them. Cracks echoed. The hardest metal on Earth shattered like glass, flying out of his body carrying charred flesh. The wounds instantly closed, new skin healing in a single breath. Interesting, Tony whispered, his eyes gleaming with data. He didn't flinch. He had simulated this battle 3,000 times in the AI. Each time, Hulk died. Hulk lunged forward, his right hand grabbing a massive granite boulder, tearing it from the cliff face like a piece of bread, and hurling it straight at Iron Man. The God Killer suit moved. It didn't fly. It teleported at near supersonic speed within a narrow range, its thrusters burning the air to create swirling plasma arcs. The boulder flew through the illusion. Tony was behind Hulk, his hands clasped together to form a giant energy cannon. Arc reactor, 400% power. Welcome to hell, my friend. A column of bluish-white light, with a temperature equivalent to the surface of a star, shot straight into Hulk's back. It didn't push him away, but burned through his skin, flesh, and ribs, incinerating part of his right lung in a fraction of a second. Hulk howled, a sound no longer human or animal, but like the roar of the Earth's crust during an earthquake. He staggered forward, but his massive bare feet managed to grip the cracked rock. He spun around, his left arm sweeping across like a giant tree, striking Iron Man's chest. The force of the blow, even through the shock-absorbing armor, sent Tony flying like a ball, plowing a 50-meter-long trench in the ground. A bright red warning light flashed on Tony's display screen. Shock reduction reduced to 12%. The AI Friday voice boomed. Severe structural damage. Activate Athena protocol. Transfer energy to melee weapon. Tony stood up, a 3-meter-long energy sword springing from his right wrist, its blade a vibrating energy field at a frequency capable of severing molecular bonds. The battle transformed into a dance of death. Tony charged, his sword slashing through the air, cutting across Hulk's thighs, stomach, and arms. Each cut was a deep wound, blood splattering everywhere. Hulk roared, trying to grab the hovering steel fly. But Tony was too fast, too precise. He fought like a programmer fixing a stubborn piece of code, cold and ruthless. Then Hulk fell. He knelt on one knee, then on both, head bowed, his breath ragged and ragged. His body was covered in cuts and burns, smoke billowing into the cold night. Silence fell. Tony landed 5 paces away, his energy blade still buzzing, ready. He stepped forward, each metallic step a deadly rustling. He raised his sword, aiming for the nape of the neck, where the spinal cord connects to the brain. A single slash to end it all. "Goodbye, Bruce," Tony whispered, and slashed down. But the blade stopped. It was held firmly by a giant green hand. Hulk wasn't kneeling, he was faking it. For the first time in his life, Hulk's primal fighting instincts allowed him to use trickery. He had lured his prey close enough. Hulk's eyes opened, no longer the usual greenish-brown of anger, but a brilliant green, like 2 nuclear reactors beginning supercriticality. His hand clenched, the energy blade shattering like glass. His other arm reached out, grabbing the ankle of the God-Killer armor. Then he slammed it. He took the multi-billion-dollar war machine and smashed it to the ground like a child smashing a toy. Once, twice, 3 times. The ground shook, splitting open into a deep chasm. Armor fragments flew everywhere, wires splattered, sparks flew. Hulk stopped, panting heavily. In his hands was not a human body, just a pile of scrap metal. No blood, no bones. The center of the armor's chest opened, revealing an empty cavity. From the rubble, a voice rang out, distorted but still full of sarcasm. The voice came from all directions, from the sky, from the ground, from the very fragments. What a spectacular display. But you thought I'd come here myself? Tony Stark was actually in Earth orbit, in a top-secret space station, comfortably seated in the control chair. Images from hundreds of satellites projected around him, displaying the Hulk from every angle. He controlled the armor like a puppet remotely. While the beast sweated and bled, he remained perfectly safe. "Muscle strength is meaningless, Hulk," Tony said, pressing a bright red button. "Intelligence is the ultimate power." And now, face the doomsday machine. The night sky suddenly blazed like day. Dozens of fireballs rained down from space, each a massive suit of armor. They landed in a perfect circle around Hulk, a battleground of steel and plasma energy. Simultaneously, they opened up, connecting with each other via high-voltage grids, trapping Hulk inside. Meanwhile, at the Avengers Tower in New York, a red alert was blaring. Pepper Potts rushed into the control room, her face pale. "What is Tony doing?" "He's shut down all communication systems." Rhodey stared at the hacked satellite screen, showing Hulk surrounded. "Not in capture. This is an execution." Vision, with the Mind Stone gleaming on his forehead, spoke, his voice unusually anxious. "I can't intervene remotely. But there's something else. The gamma energy density in Hulk's body is increasing exponentially. This level of rage is unprecedented. Stark doesn't understand what he's awakening, but Tony didn't hear. He had locked all channels. Before him, on the screen, was the enemy. Activate the global incineration system. Using the solar lens, focus energy on the target coordinates. In orbit, a series of satellites began to rotate, unfolding enormous, butterfly-like solar panels, concentrating sunlight into a continental-scale column of thermonuclear energy, striking directly down into the Nevada desert. The sun's rays descended, the ground instantly vaporized. No more sand, no more rocks, only boiling plasma at millions of degrees. The doomsday machine suits melted into liquid, merging into that earthly hell. In the center of the sun's fury, the Hulk's form was no longer visible. Only a pitch-black, shrunken shadow remained. Tony sighed, a breath of relief mixed with weariness. It's over. But the black shadow didn't disappear. It was standing upright. In that atomic furnace, every cell of Bruce Banner had been incinerated. But unlike any living creature, the Hulk didn't die. His mechanism was absolute adaptation. When his body was destroyed, it didn't heal, but evolved to resist that destruction. The ultimate pain didn't kill the Hulk, it killed Bruce Banner. The weak consciousness of humanity was finally extinguished, giving way to the purest, most primal rage of the universe. The world-breaker Hulk was born. The ground shook, not from the energy column, but from the creature emerging from the heart of hell. His body was no longer green, but glowed a dazzling green, like the core of a meteor. His eyes were two blazing white flames. With each step, the ground cracked into deep canyons, lava erupting from the earth's depths, enveloping him like a cloak. He no longer roared. He was silent, the most terrifying silence in the universe. Tony sat motionless in the control room. All the data on the screen was unbelievable. Hulk was not only absorbing solar energy, but was also emitting an energy field that distorted space-time. His satellites began falling like autumn leaves. Hulk looked up. He peered through the atmosphere, through the space station's steel shell, into Tony's eyes, and he jumped. The jump wasn't a brute force jump, but a distortion of space. He instantly appeared just outside the space station, in the vacuum of space. Tony only managed to utter a curse before an entire third of the space station was torn apart into space by the gravitational pull emanating from Hulk's body. He was sucked out, fortunately enveloped by the Phoenix Buster armor, his last remaining suit of armor. The final battle took place in low Earth orbit. Tony unleashed everything he had. The Phoenix Beam, a weapon capable of damaging cosmic entities, fired directly at Hulk. It scorched his outermost skin, but only made Hulk's white eyes burn even brighter. Hulk lunged forward in silence, tearing through the armor's left arm like tearing paper. Tony screamed, not from physical pain, but from the helplessness of the greatest ego on the planet. I am Tony Stark. I created the most powerful weapon. I am the protector of Earth. Hulk didn't respond verbally. He grabbed the chest section of the Phoenix Buster armor, the sun-resistant alloy warping like a candy wrapper. He tore open the arc reactor, revealing Tony's true ribcage. Beneath the thin armor, the frantically beating heart of a terrified man. Hulk inserted his enormous finger, lightly touching it. Just a snap of his fingers. One snap, and Tony Stark would cease to exist. That moment stretched on endlessly. On the screen, Tony saw himself, a proud figure in tattered armor, his face smeared with blood, his eyes filled with the most primal fear a man can feel when facing a god. He saw himself not as the savior, but merely a deranged assassin. He saw the images of the children in the gamma-ray burst he had inadvertently caused, and realized he was no different from the very person he was trying to destroy. Hulk looked into Tony's eyes. In that destructive frenzy, a glimmer of light flashed. Perhaps it was the remnants of Bruce Banner, perhaps a memory of the friendship between former comrades before everything collapsed. Hulk smirked, not a smile. It was an expression of utter contempt. He roared. The sound didn't travel in a vacuum, but it created a physical shockwave. It blasted Tony Stark away from the rest of the space station, sending him into a free fall towards Earth. The Hulk turned his back, not bothering to look at his defeated opponent. He didn't kill Tony. He left him to drift in the ruins of his pride. Vision arrived just in time, catching Tony before he burst into flames in the atmosphere. In his teammate's arms, Tony Stark said nothing. He looked up at the starry sky, where a greenish light was fading into the vastness of space. Hulk was victorious, He soared into space, leaving behind a planet that had rejected him. He triumphed in silence, in absolute solitude, in a distant corner of the galaxy. After many years, on a barren planet of only volcanoes and gray rocks, Hulk sat on a stone throne. Primitive alien creatures, who regarded him as a god of destruction, knelt around him. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Remember to subscribe to the channel. Thank you all very much.